A very warm welcome to our YouTube channel. I really hope that you guys are doing well. So today's topic of discussion is going to be a little interesting. So you all know that Congress has been divided into two phases. Congress, the Indian National Congress, was founded in 1885 and it has two phases in its working. One is that of the moderates, and then we have what we call it as extremist, right? So the question is, why do we have this difference? So that is exactly what we're going to understand today. That is the difference between the moderates and the extremists, and this is how you will also get to learn about how their working was going. All right. So that's the topic of our discussion today. We will be learning about the difference between moderates and extremists, who are the two factions of Indian National Congress. Okay. Let us see who the moderates were and what was the point of view of extremists. The moderates' leader were primarily drawn from the zamindar and the upper middle classes in town. Now, because they were coming from the zamindar faction, they were not really interested in, asking for demands for the peasants or for the lower classes. Yes, the moderates were not really interested in that, and they never really contributed to it. And it is one of the reasons why they could never create a mass movement, because they did not have that connection with the masses. Now, secondly, let's see who the extremist, what is the point of view of extremists over here. They were primarily drawn from educated and lower middle classes, all right, and towns. So because these people were coming from educated and lower middle classes, they were much more able to connect with the masses and hence able to create mass movements like Swadeshi and boycott. Next, they were inspired by the Western liberal thought and European history. So moderates actually were product of European or English education. Yes, they were byproducts of that, and they were sort of proud of that culture, and that is why they were really inspired by the Western education and the Western thought. Now, the extremists here, they derived their ideological inspiration from Indian history and cultural heritage and Hindu traditional symbols. So it's not that the extremists were not educated. Yes, they were educated, and yes, they also had a Western education background, but they were also proud, very proud of their Indian heritage, and that is something which showed in their working. So they were able to convey this to the masses as well, that we are proud of who we are and we have to fight against the Britishers, who are seen as an enemy, who was the other party. Now, the moderates here, they demanded constitutional reforms and an increase in the share for Indians in the services by constitutional methods only. Now, the demands of the moderates, how they put forth their demands. They put forth their demands in a very constitutional method. So, they would be petitioning the British government, they would be sending petitions, they would be sending long letters to the British government, they would try to create a public opinion regarding it, but they were just requesting the British government to increase reforms, and most of the reforms were asking for an Indian share. They were asking for Indian representation in the working of the government. They did not ask that the Britishers should leave. No, they were just asking for more Indian representation in what? In the British government. Okay. The ultimate goal was the attainment of Swaraj, which according to Tilak was the birthright. And they desired the evolution of new India through self-reliance. Now, the ultimate goal here is not to work with the British Empire. No, the ultimate goal here is Swaraj, which means khud ka rajya, apna rajya, which Tilak had called it to be his birthright. Alright, so you can see a difference in their ideology as well, isn't it? Okay. Next. Now, the moderates, they profess their loyalty to the British Crown and believe that the movement should be limited to the middle class intelligentsia rather than extended to the masses who were not yet ready for the participation in political work. So, you know what? The moderates were really loyal towards the Britishers. Remember guys, they're byproduct of Western education. So they were really loyal to the Britishers, and they believed that the movement should only be focusing on, or the movement should be led by the educated masses and not the lower masses and not the lower classes or the peasants per se, because they thought that the peasants were not yet capable of running or looking into the politics of the country. And this is where they were mistaken. Now, the extremists on the other hand believed that the British Crown was unworthy of claiming Indian loyalty, and they had immense faith in the capacity of the masses. So, here the extremists, they were not loyal to the Britishers. They saw what the Britishers were, they understood what the Britishers were, they saw the Britishers for who they were. And here, the extremists have immense faith on the masses of India, and they believe that it is the masses of India who could actually bring about a change. Okay? Now, the moderates on one hand were firm believers in the English providential mission in India and believed that political connections with Britons were in India's social, political and cultural interests. Okay? So, here you know what? The moderates, they were firm believers in the English sense of justice, alright, and they also believed that the British rule in India is actually going to do good for India rather than any harm. According to them, it was good for India's social, cultural and political interest. Here, the extremists, they have rejected the providential mission, fine. And they believe that this was just an illusion which the Britishers were trying to create, and according to them, this political connection with Britain is going to cause nothing but exploitation for India. Now, lastly, the moderates were mostly concerned with abolishing British rule, right? And here, the extremists, they were not really concerned with abolishing British rule completely, but with obtaining a larger share of power for the people in the administration of the country. Alright. So, यहाँ पे हम एक चीज देख रहे हैं, ठीक है? Now, this is for the extremists. Okay, this is for the moderates, alright, so that there is no confusion over here, fine. So, the extremists were mainly concerned with abolishing British rule. Remember, they were working for Swaraj, right? They wanted to abolish British rule, fine. And here the moderates, they were not really keen on abolishing British rule, but they just wanted that Indians should have Indians should have more share, or at least Indians should have some share of power within the British rule itself. Alright, what they were asking for was a dominion status. And what is a dominion status? That the Britishers are definitely going to be there and we will be ruling under them. Alright, so these are some of the differences between the moderates and the extremists. Alright, and I really hope guys that you have understood it, and I really hope that you were able to understand the working as well, isn't it? You would be able to understand the working of this, and yahan se, from here, you'll be able to remember what is the working of the moderates, what is their aims, what is their achievements, and from here also, you'll be able to draw conclusions on the extremist working method, capacity, what was their ultimate aim, what was their achievement, etc. Okay? So, that's about it for the video. I really hope that this video was useful for you. I really hope that this video gave you all the information that you needed for understanding the difference between the moderates and the extremists. Alright. So thank you so much for joining me here, guys. It was an absolute pleasure to have you all. If you have any difficulties, any doubts, please feel free to address them in the comment section. I'll be more than happy to address it with you all. Till then, this is me, Nicky Sinha, signing off. Please take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.